This episode of the Aaron Cohen Show brought to you by the Cherry's Deep Concealment Holster. Same holster I trained Keanu on for the John Wick franchise. This thing runs below the waistband. BWB means it's never going to fall off you. Zero digging into your gut and lightning fast draw with just a little bit of training. Go to cherriescounterterror.com. There's a bit of a lead time right now, but trust me, these things are worth it. cherriescounterterror.com. Grab yourself one of these bad boys and finally carry with comfort and proper concealment. Chaos is erupting in Syria as rebels launch a shocking offensive into Aleppo. It's all over X right now. It's all over the news. Breaking through for the first time since 2016. But for Israel, this isn't just another conflict to watch. This one's a unique opportunity to weaken its enemies. And today, I'm going to break down the situation, how this could be a game changer for Israel and Syria, and what it means for Iran, for Hezbollah, and the broader Middle East. And I'm also going to dive into how this impacts U.S. national security. So let's dive in. So Aleppo, once Syria's economic powerhouse, fell to Assad in 2016 in one of the bloodiest sieges of the Syrian civil war. And now that control completely shattered. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, just launched a devastating offensive, entering Aleppo for the first time in nearly a decade. They've used car bombs, drones, different types of infantry tactics to cut off the M5 highway, and that's a vital lifeline for the regime. And this isn't just a random attack. It's about crippling Assad's ability to resupply and maintain forces in the north. What about the people? There's over 14,000 civilians that have fled their homes in the past couple of days. Entire families caught between Assad's bombs and HTS's insurgency. And at least 4 children, from what I'm hearing, are among the casualties. Humanitarian toll is mounting very aggressively. So again, this one isn't just about territory. There are innocent lives being lost here. Syria has become the ultimate geopolitical chessboard. All right, multiple powers backing different sides of this thing. And I want to break this down for the layman because a lot of pieces moving around here. Russia, Putin's government, is Assad's most powerful ally. Moscow provides air power, advanced weaponry, and economic aid to keep Assad in power. Russia's goal? To maintain its military bases in Syria and project power in the Middle East. Tehran supports Assad with ground forces, primarily through the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, as well as Hezbollah fighters. Iran's strategy is to secure a land corridor from Tehran to Lebanon, solidifying its influence in the region. Let's talk about these rebels. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or the HTS, backed directly by Turkey, Erdogan, which supports various rebel factions to counter Kurdish groups and Assad. Turkey views the northern Syria as a buffer zone against Kurdish independence movements. There's a couple of other fringe groups, and many receive logistical and financial support through private donors in Gulf states like Qatar. Let's talk about the Kurds. U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces. The Kurds have been the main allies of the United States in the fight against ISIS. Washington provides training, weapons, and air support through this alliance. Alliance has been strained by U.S.-Turkey relations. There's some ISIS remnants as well. ISIS, small pieces of it, small cells, continue to operate in the region, drumming up chaos. So in short, you've got Assad backed by Russia and Iran, rebels backed by Turkey and Gulf donors, Kurds supported by the U.S., extremists trying to exploit the whole mass situation, basically scumbags from all directions. This is why Syria remains one of the most complicated conflicts in history right now. Every move one player makes ripples across the entire region. And so this chaos presents a very rare opportunity for Israel to strike while its enemies are off balance. And that's the way we like to work in Israel. We try and find those targets of opportunity and exploit it. Precision strikes on weak targets. Iranian and Hezbollah forces, they're stretched pretty thin right now because they're focusing on HTS instead of defending against Israeli airstrikes. So it's a perfect time for Israel to target weapons depots, more command centers, and supply lines. And even though there's a ceasefire with Hezbollah, there's multiple groups in there. The second piece is disrupting supply routes. Iran uses Syria as a corridor to supply Hezbollah in Lebanon. And with the M5 highway under attack and Iranian forces preoccupied, Israel can take action to continue disrupting these routes, cutting off those key supplies. So this chaos in Syria doesn't just affect Israel. There's also implications for the United States national security as well, and here's why. Terrorist safe havens. And as the HDS gains control, we're seeing the potential or the reemergence of extremist-controlled territories. Remember, these are very serious Islamists, and this mirrors what we saw with ISIS. This is a breeding ground for terrorism that could eventually target U.S. interests abroad or even here in the United States at home. Turkey, a NATO ally, indirectly backing HTS and playing a double sort of game here, fighting Assad's regime while enabling a terrorist organization. Don't forget, they're harboring Hamas now. This weakens NATO's cohesion and complicates U.S. relations with Turkey. And as Iranian-backed militias lose ground in Syria, there's a risk that they'll retaliate by targeting U.S. troops stationed in Iraq or Syria. This could escalate and pull the U.S. deeper into a conflict. Now I want to talk about disruption of the energy. Instability in Syria can ripple across the Middle East, threatening oil supply routes and driving up energy prices as well. And this directly affects the U.S. economy. Let's talk about Russia. Russia is taking on the role as the power broker in Syria. And this chaos gives Moscow more leverage to shape the outcomes to counter U.S. interests. And so for the U.S., this isn't just about keeping Syria off the map. It's about staying ahead of the threats. And terrorism, energy disruption, and geopolitical rivals like Iran and Russia, all of this ties back to what's happening in Aleppo. This isn't really just Aleppo and Syria. It's about the entire Middle East. This is all connected and it always will be. Iran's regional strategy, for instance, with its forces weakened in Syria, Iran's ability to project power across the region becomes more compromised. If Hezbollah's resources are tied up in Syria, it's less of a threat on Israel's northern border. And so for Israel, this is more than just a regional conflict. It's a window of opportunity to strengthen its security and weaken its enemies. And for America, it's a reminder of how connected all of this is for global security and for the world, and that ignoring this chaos often leads to greater instability everywhere else. So that's what I have for this one right now. I'm going to keep monitoring this one as it continues to unfold. Do me a favor, share your thoughts down in the comments. Question, how should Israel and the U.S. respond to this crisis? I'd like to know what you think. And do me a favor, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're a fan of my work and you're a fan of the show, hit the link in the description and grab yourself a mini sponsorship package. They start at about $25. We're independently produced. Helps keep the lights on in the studio so I can continue to bring you guys analysis and breaking stories with the proper angles on these stories. I want to thank you guys for watching this episode. I'm Aaron Cohen. You're watching The Aaron Cohen Show, and I'll be back with you guys soon.